My mom's funeral ended with a punch to the face and a DNA test. And no, not in that order. The punch came from a woman I'd never seen before who screamed that I ruined everything. The DNA test came courtesy of a lawyer in a navy suit who cornered me by the bathrooms with a sealed envelope and a look like he wished he were literally anywhere else on earth. I opened it 10 minutes later in my car, hands still shaking, parked crooked in the grass behind the chapel. The paper inside told me I wasn't an only child, not even close. Hi, I'm Cassie Rhodes, 27, professionally over it. For most of my life, I thought I was the lone defective product of a single mom who treated honesty like a loose guideline and commitment like a contagious disease. But apparently, she had a whole bonus family she never bothered to mention, complete with matching last names, Instagram perfect smiles, and the gall to act like I was the intruder. You'd think learning you had siblings would be touching, maybe heartwarming. I got slapped in a church parking lot and found out I'm the unacknowledged bastard of a man I've never met, one who was giving his real kids trust funds while my mom and I lived off ramen and overdue rent. And here's the best part. They knew, all of them, knew I existed, knew I was out there, knew I wasn't some random mistake but a deliberate omission, a living, breathing family secret nobody ever planned to unpack. Until now. Why? Because the bastard died. That's why. And apparently, I'm listed in his will. Now the whole facade is crumbling, secrets are bleeding out faster than I can keep up, and I'm caught in the middle of a family feud I didn't start, but I might just finish. You ever crash your own origin story and realize you've been the villain, the victim, and the plot twist all at once? Buckle up. It's going to get so much worse. The punch left a bruise under my left eye the color of overripe plums, which was ironic because I hadn't cried in years. But apparently my face was ready to weep in Technicolor. The woman who delivered it, red nails, fake lashes, teeth too white to trust, was later identified as my half-sister. Her name, Whitney. Her profession, personal branding coach. Her personality, rabid chihuahua meets Botoxed shark. Apparently Daddy Dearest had quite the track record. 3 marriages, 1 mistress, hi mom, 4 kids, and now a will that read like a game of emotional Russian roulette. I was mentioned by name, first and last, no wiggle room. A trust was set up for Cassandra Rhodes, born June 7th, 1997, as recognition of paternal responsibility and acknowledgement of past omission. Fancy lawyer speak for oops, my bad, here's hush money. What got under their skin, though, wasn't the money. It was the fact that I had proof. DNA doesn't lie, and neither did the will. Turns out my mom had filed the paternity test years ago, kept it sealed, and only released it posthumously. Because if there's one thing my mom loved more than chaos, it was timed chaos. So now I'm stuck in the middle of a soap opera I never auditioned for, and every episode stars me as the villain in a designer knockoff coat from a discount rack. I haven't even fully processed that the man I always assumed was a deadbeat stranger was actually a well-known real estate mogul who owned half the strip malls in the tri-state area and spent Christmases on private beaches with people who color coordinate their napkins. I'm not sure what hurts more. Knowing I grew up eating canned ravioli while he sipped champagne with his real family, or realizing that even in death he couldn't be bothered to pick up a phone and say, "Hey, sorry I skipped your entire childhood." Whitney wasn't the only one pissed. There was also Landon, the golden boy, the eldest son, the human LinkedIn profile. Harvard grad, venture capitalist, and owner of that specific brand of smug, only found in men who've never waited for a paycheck to clear. He didn't punch me. He didn't have to. His eyes said everything. You don't belong here. I should have walked away. I should have taken the check, cashed it, and ghosted the whole clan like a one-night stand gone wrong. But I didn't. I smiled. I sat through that will reading like I had every right to be there. Because I did. You know what's funny? For years, I wondered why Mom always flinched when I asked about my dad. Why her eyes glazed over like someone remembering a war crime. Turns out she wasn't hiding her shame. She was hiding his. And now? I want answers. I want every rotted secret this family buried behind picket fences and golf club memberships. I want to know why they left me out, why they let me drown, why nobody ever came looking. Because here's the twist. I'm not just the secret. I might be the only one telling the truth, and someone in that perfect little family knows exactly why my mother never said his name out loud. They're counting on me to walk away. I don't walk. I dig. By Tuesday, I'd been called a gold-digging accident 3 separate times, and that was just before lunch. Let me paint the scene for you. Picture me, Cassie Rhodes, walking into a law firm lobby that probably cost more per square foot than my entire childhood. Marble floors so shiny I could see the tired regret in my own reflection, air thick with expensive cologne, and silence so tight you could hear every eyelash blink. I wasn't supposed to be there, which of course made it even better. I was there to sign some papers for the trust, the one they were hoping I'd quietly accept, and then vanish into the background like a deleted character from their family movie. Instead, I asked for copies of everything: emails, amendments, the original paternity test my mother filed. Their faces said it all. I wasn't playing my role correctly. I wasn't being passive. I wasn't embarrassed enough. I was, in their words, difficult. Good. Things took a turn in the hallway when I caught Whitney whisper yelling at the attorney. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was just conveniently bad at walking away when things sounded juicy. Her voice cracked in the shrill, desperate way that made even the expensive artwork on the walls feel awkward. She was demanding to know why I was getting more than her, which was hilarious because I'd already peeked at the numbers, and I wasn't. But you see, Whitney wasn't mad about the money. She was mad about legacy. She was mad that her daddy's skeleton had fallen out of the closet, dragged a lawn chair with it, and made itself at home. Later that day, Landon, Mr. Harvard MBA with a God complex, decided to pull me aside for a chat. That's rich. It wasn't a chat. It was a veiled threat delivered in a voice so smooth, I'm pretty sure he practices it in the mirror between motivational speeches and stock trades. He said things like, "We're a very private family, and it would be a shame if things got messy." Messy. As if this wasn't already a Greek tragedy, directed by Jerry Springer. So I said something that apparently struck a nerve. I said, "Funny, I thought real families didn't need to bribe people into silence." He froze, just for a second. But I saw it. That flicker. That guilt. That knowledge. And that's when I knew there's something else. Something worse. Because when I pushed just a little, just hinted that I might go public if they kept treating me like garbage, he didn't call my bluff. He paled. Literally lost color in his face. That's when the lawyer stepped in and tried to smooth things over, but it was too late. The crack showed. There's more. There's always more. Later that night, I went digging through one of Mom's old boxes. The ones she made me swear never to open unless she was gone for good. I'd forgotten about them after the funeral chaos, but that comment from Landon brought it all back. The paranoia. The weird look she gave me when I asked about the man in the photo. Inside the box, beneath layers of old receipts and half-finished letters, was a second envelope. This one wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to him. Handwritten, sealed, never mailed. I didn't open it, not yet, but I will. Because whatever's in that letter scared my mother so much she hid it for decades, and if it scared her, it might be exactly what I need to burn this whole facade to the ground. So, guess what I did at 3:17 a.m. on a Wednesday while eating cold pad thai with chopsticks I found under my car seat? Yeah, I opened the letter. I know. I said I'd wait. But the truth is, the second I held that envelope, something in my chest tightened like it recognized danger. Or maybe it was grief. Or maybe both. Either way, sleep was a joke, and curiosity was a rabid animal clawing behind my ribs. So I broke the seal like a villain in a period drama and read the thing in one breath. My mother, Elizabeth Rhodes, serial liar and queen of cryptic notes, had written a letter to a man named Charles Benton. That's right. Not Dad. Not your father. Not the man who ruined everything. No, just Charles. Like she was writing to someone she hadn't seen in years, which made it worse. She starts off soft, polite, formal, almost. She says, "You'll never read this, but I need to say it anyway." That's when I knew this wasn't a letter for closure. It was a confession. She wrote that she didn't tell him about me because she was scared. Not of him. Of them. She said his family had resources and connections, and that once they realized I existed, she didn't trust them not to come after her. There were lines about conversations overheard, legal threats whispered behind country club walls, and a check someone tried to hand her to make the problem go away. And here I thought this was just about some forgotten affair. But no, my mom was hunted. She even mentioned a specific name, Veronica Benton, his wife at the time, not his ex-wife, not his grieving widow, his still married, never left him wife. Apparently, Veronica found out about me before Charles did, and that's when things got ugly. My mom wrote. She told me girls like me don't belong in families like yours. She told me accidents don't get inheritance. They get handled. Handled. My blood ran cold. I didn't grow up with fairy tales. But this was Cinderella meets political thriller meets Get Out Before They Find You. And suddenly everything clicked. The paranoia, the secret documents, why my mother kept moving us from town to town every few years for new opportunities, why she used burner phones for half her life and never filed taxes under her own name after 2004. She wasn't unstable. She was protecting me. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cassie, maybe she exaggerated. Maybe she was being dramatic. Maybe. But then why did I find a photo hidden between the pages? A photo of me, 5 years old, swinging at a public park, taken from a distance. And on the back, written in neat cursive, "Cute kid, doesn't look anything like him, yet." No signature, just that. So now I'm sitting in a tiny apartment with my cold noodles and a photo that makes my skin crawl, and I realize something. This isn't about inheritance, this is about elimination. And if Veronica Benton is still alive, she's going to wish she never saw my face. I didn't plan to crash a charity gala in a thrifted blazer and combat boots, but here we are. Let me rewind. According to a very sassy obituary I found buried under a Google search that required me to spell philanthropist correctly twice, Veronica Benton, yes, that Veronica, now sits on the board of a children's arts foundation that throws black tie events for rich people to pretend they care about finger painting. Lucky for me, this year's gala just so happened to be hosted at a hotel downtown with security looser than my last relationship. I didn't have a plan. I had a hair tie, a stolen name tag that said Jade, volunteer coordinator, and a level of audacity that should have been illegal. I slipped in during catering setup and pretended to rearrange brochures about empowering tomorrow's visionaries. Gag me. And then I saw her. Veronica Benton. Even older, even colder, and somehow still wearing a diamond necklace that looked like it had opinions about poor people. She was holding court by the bar, surrounded by a clutch of real estate wives and Botoxed ambition. Her laugh was the sound of someone who had never once apologized in her life. I watched. I waited. I reminded myself not to stab anything. Then, as fate would have it, or maybe karma, she walked right past me on the way to the restroom, and I followed her like I belonged there, because tonight, I kind of did. I caught up to her just as she reached for the door. "Veronica?" She turned slowly, blinked at me like I was a bug that had just asked to borrow her credit card. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" Her voice was smooth, elegant, poison disguised as perfume. "You knew my mother?" I said. "Elizabeth Rhodes." The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. For a heartbeat, she just stared. Then with a smile that could have sliced concrete, she said, "I'm sorry, dear. That name doesn't ring a bell." Liar. "Really?" I stepped closer. "She said you threatened her. Said you called me an accident. Said you sent someone to make sure we stayed gone." She didn't blink. Just sighed. "Your mother was troubled. She had a habit of inventing stories when reality didn't suit her." That was the moment I realized two things. One, she wasn't going to confess. Two, she absolutely remembered. I pulled the photo from my jacket pocket, the one of me on the swing, the one with the writing on the back. Her eyes darted to it, and just like that, her mask cracked. Not much. Just a twitch, but it was enough. "I suggest you leave," she said. "You clearly have some unresolved feelings, and I'm not the person you should be bringing them to." "No?" I said, voice calm, shaking just beneath the surface. "Because from where I'm standing, you're the reason my mom spent 2 decades looking over her shoulder." She leaned in, voice low enough to be a threat. "You think money makes you part of this family? You think some DNA test gives you a seat at the table? Sweetheart, you're a rumor. A smear. We buried your mother's lies once. We can bury them again." I don't remember walking away. I just remember my hands shaking so bad I dropped the photo in the hallway. And when I picked it up, the back had new handwriting on it. "Stay gone, Cassandra." It wasn't there before, which means someone had been in my apartment. This isn't about secrets anymore. It's a warning. And now it's personal. There's a special kind of fear that comes from knowing someone's been inside your home while you were out confronting your father's sociopath widow at a charity gala. Not just inside. Inside quietly. Inside enough to touch things, move things, write on things. I got back to my apartment around midnight. Door locked, lights off. Everything exactly as I'd left it. Until it wasn't. The photo. The handwriting. The realization that someone wanted me to know they could reach me anytime. So I did what any emotionally stable adult woman would do. I hyperventilated into a paper bag from my takeout drawer, texted my therapist, "You up?" and slept with a hammer under my pillow. The next morning, I called the one person I hadn't spoken to since this whole mess began. My mom's oldest friend, Cheryl, a chain-smoking retired hairdresser with more secrets than a priest, and an uncanny talent for remembering things people definitely wish she'd forget. She answered on the third ring, already annoyed. "Cassie, if this is about the key lime pie recipe again, I swear to God." "It's not about pie, Cheryl. Someone broke into my apartment, and I need to know exactly what you meant when you said my mom got into trouble with Veronica Benton." Silence. Then a long drag. "Then, sweetheart, your mama didn't just get into trouble, she survived something." So here's the story. Back in the early 2000s, Elizabeth Rhodes, aka my mother, met Charles Benton at some real estate networking event. She wasn't supposed to be there. She'd borrowed a friend's name tag to sneak in and hand out resumes. Charles noticed her. They hit it off. Boom, affair. Cheryl says it was weirdly sweet if you ignored the adultery. Mom thought she was in love, thought he might leave Veronica. But apparently Veronica found out real fast, and instead of throwing wine glasses or divorce papers, she did something way worse. She hired a man. Not to kill, nothing that obvious. But to frighten, to silence. One night my mom came home to find her apartment door cracked open and every photo of her and Charles missing. Her voicemail? Full of silence. And one whisper. "Leave." She didn't report it. She didn't confront him. She ran. And that's when Cheryl helped her disappear. New town, new job, new name on the lease. Every few years, another move. Always careful, always quiet. Until I was old enough to ask questions. Until Mom got sick. Until the day she handed me that locked box and said, "Don't trust anyone who smiles too quickly." Now I know why. Veronica didn't just want Mom gone. She wanted me gone too. Not for money, not for reputation, for control. Because as long as I exist, so does a piece of her husband she couldn't erase. And now someone's come to finish the job. So I'm done waiting. I'm done hiding. And I'm done playing nice with a family that tried to bury me before I was even born. Next stop, Landon Benton's office. Let's see how much the golden boy knows when he's not hiding behind a PR team and his dead daddy's money. Let's see what happens when the accident stops running and starts fighting back. I didn't expect Landon to scream. I always pictured him as the kind of guy who speaks exclusively in measured, strategic statements like a human LinkedIn article. But when I showed up at his corner office unannounced, wearing sunglasses, holding a manila folder, and radiating unhinged energy, he actually yelped, like a startled house cat in khakis. The receptionist barely looked up when I blew past her desk. Either she was too scared or too underpaid to intervene. Probably both. I kicked open his frosted glass door like I was auditioning for a legal drama that definitely gets canceled after one season. He stood up fast, knocking over a cup of coffee and whatever dignity he had left. "Jesus Christ, Cassie, what the hell are you—" I threw the photo down on his desk. The photo. Me, age 5, swing set, creeper handwriting on the back. New threat freshly added. "This was in my apartment," I said. "Someone was there. They left a message." "You want to guess what it said? Or should I just call the police and see whose fingerprints they find?" Landon went pale in that very specific rich guy way, where their face tightens like it's bracing for a stock market crash. He didn't sit back down. "You're being paranoid," he said, which is a hilarious thing to say to someone holding physical proof of a crime. "No," I snapped. "I'm being followed. Someone got inside my locked apartment without setting off the alarm, wrote a note threatening me, and left like a damn magician. So unless you're about to admit to moonlighting as a budget James Bond, I suggest you start talking." He looked like he wanted to throw up, or punch a wall, or both. Finally, he muttered, "This is what I didn't want." "Oh? You didn't want your dad's secret daughter showing up and refusing to be intimidated out of existence? Shocking. No, I didn't want you getting hurt. That stopped me cold. It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it. Like someone who wasn't surprised this happened. Like someone who knew it was coming. I narrowed my eyes. You know who did it? He didn't answer right away, but he didn't deny it either. Landon, I said slowly, if you don't tell me everything right now, I swear I will walk out of this building, go straight to the press and hand them everything. The trust, the letters, the photos. I will make this your family's legacy. Do you understand me? He dropped into his chair like gravity had finally remembered who he was. She was supposed to be gone, he said. After Dad died, Mom lost it. She thought you'd come for everything. She said the will was a trap, that you were bait. I didn't believe her. I thought she was spiraling. But then, the security team she used to work with, from when Dad had that embezzlement scare back in '08, she called them again. Off the books. I went cold. You're telling me, I said, voice barely controlled, your mother hired a private security team to stalk and scare her husband's illegitimate daughter. He looked at me, not with guilt, but with fear. She didn't hire them to scare you, Cassie. Pause. She hired them to erase you. I didn't breathe, not for a full 5 seconds. She's insane, he said, and they're not just security. They do other things, quiet things. The kind of things you don't undo. You need to disappear, now. I leaned in, eyes locked on his. No, Landon, I don't disappear. I flipped open the folder. Inside were copies of the letter, the photo, and a USB drive labeled for insurance. I smiled. You do? I didn't run. I should have run. That would have been the smart thing. The safe thing. The thing any sane person would do after learning that a billionaire widow hired a team of professional erasers to delete her husband's mistake from existence. But sanity left the chat around the time I found a photo of myself taken by a stranger 20 years ago. So instead of skipping town, I checked into a motel with flickering lights, a stained mattress, and exactly one working lock. I called Cheryl and told her everything. She showed up within the hour, armed with pepper spray, a taser, and something that looked suspiciously like a crowbar. You know, she said, setting down a duffel bag full of what I assume were anti-assassination tools. When your mom told me to look out for you after she died, I figured we were talking emotional support, not a CIA manhunt. I tried to laugh. I think it came out as a wheeze. Then, everything spiraled. It started with a voicemail. Blocked number, woman's voice, calm, too calm. Cassandra, you're making a mistake. You're not ready for the world you're poking into. We're offering you one chance to walk away. You take the money, disappear, and we forget any of this ever happened. Or you keep playing detective, and the next time someone breaks into your apartment, they won't leave a message. Click. No threats, no screaming, just certainty. I replayed it 10 times, each listen making my bones feel like ice water. The next morning I found my car door open. I didn't leave it open. There was a single manila envelope on the driver's seat. No fingerprints, no smudges. Inside, printouts. Security footage stills. Of me. From the inside of the motel. Someone had bugged my room. They were watching me eat instant noodles in a hoodie with a hole in the elbow. Watching me whisper strategy with Cheryl over 3-day-old coffee. Watching me cry silently at 2 a.m. while scrolling through old photos of my mom. Wondering what she would have told me to do if she were still here. They weren't just following me, they were in the room. I don't know how long I stared at the photos. My body was frozen, but my mind was sprinting. This wasn't just psychological warfare anymore. This was a countdown. Then Cheryl, bless her inappropriate sense of humor, held up the crowbar and said, "Well, I guess it's time to kick the beehive." So we did. We went to the press. Not the big ones, too risky, too many friends with last names like Benton. But there's a little investigative blog run by a guy named Max, who once broke a story about embezzlement inside a nonprofit for seeing eye dogs. Max owes Cheryl a favor. Something about a DUI and a bribed tow truck driver. I handed Max everything. The letters, the trust, the photo, the voicemail, the break-in report, and that final bomb. The fact that Charles Benton's will, his original unedited, unsanitized version, listed me as primary heir. if any other beneficiaries were found to be engaging in illegal activity or coercion related to the estate. Yeah, that part was redacted from the official copy, because that will wasn't just about money. It was a ticking time bomb. And I just handed someone the match. Max's face when he finished reading? Somewhere between terrified and ready to win a Pulitzer. "You know this is going to get ugly, right?" he asked. "I'm counting on it." That night, someone tried to break into the motel, not quietly, not subtly. Glass shattered, door splintered. Cheryl screamed. I had my phone in one hand and the taser in the other. By the time the police got there, whoever it was had vanished. But they left something behind. A burner phone. No lock screen, just one video file. It was footage of me sleeping, last night, time-stamped, close-up, from less than 6 feet away. I dropped the phone. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Cheryl picked it up, eyes hard. "Next time," she said, "we sleep with weapons. This isn't a game anymore. This isn't about legacy or lawsuits or even family. This is survival. And I swear to God, if they want war, they just found the wrong girl to scare into silence. You know that moment in every thriller where the heroine decides to stop running and turns around to face the monster? That's where I am. Only this monster wears pearls, has a board seat at a children's charity, and apparently signs off on surveillance like she's ordering wine. Veronica Benton underestimated a lot of things, my patience, my fear threshold, my willingness to burn every bridge to the ground. But mostly, she underestimated how far someone with nothing left to lose is willing to go. The article dropped at 8:03 a.m. sharp. Max titled it, "Heiress in Hiding, How the Benton Empire Tried to Erase Their Secret Daughter." Subtle, right? It hit like a meteor. Names, dates, photos, the voice recording, the trust clause, a full breakdown of the surveillance operation and the attempted intimidation campaign. Within 3 hours, Veronica's PR team issued a no comment. Within 6, her charity board released a statement announcing her indefinite leave. By lunch, half the internet had turned on her. True crime Reddit, Twitter sleuths, even a lifestyle influencer who posted a sobbing reel about toxic matriarch energy. But the real blow? The FBI. Turns out using private contractors to intimidate a legal heir across state lines violates about 8 different laws. Who knew? Veronica was subpoenaed by 5 p.m. Landon went dark. Whitney deleted her Instagram. And I walked back into that law office, the same one where this circus started, handed them the original will and the USB drive, and said, "I'd like to formally claim my inheritance, all of it." The junior partner tried to argue. I slid over the proof of tampering, the threats, the footage, and the clause that disqualifies heirs who engage in coercion. Checkmate, so here I am, 2 weeks later, sitting in the house my father bought in the 90s. Lakeview. Too many rooms. Echoey with wealth. It doesn't feel like mine. Not yet, maybe never. But I'm not here for the marble counters. I'm here because I earned the right to exist. Because my mother deserved better than to die hiding. Because secrets don't stay buried when the person digging has nothing left but truth and rage. There's still fallout. Court dates, lawsuits, security details. But I sleep through the night now. Mostly. And sometimes, when the wind hits just right, I think I hear my mother's voice, laughing, whispering, "Don't let them win, kid. I won, Mom. They'll never silence me again."